Let's jump into the NFL now because there are a lot of people this weekend that probably will be having their fantasy football drafts. And there was a big question mark going on when the Jacksonville Jaguars waived Leonard Fournette on where's he going to go? Should you still draft him? Where should you draft him if you want to draft him? Well, he signed on Wednesday a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady does it again. People love to play with this guy. Now he has Shady McCoy and Leonard Fournette in his backfield. I am starting to feel reservedly scared of what this Tampa Bay team can do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Leonard Fournette's the best back in their backfield. Currently, they have like seven
Still,
backs. They got Ronald Jones, who they drafted, Shady McCoy, who they signed in free agency, Dare Agumbowale. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but he was kind of in that what I would call the James White, Danny Woodhead role for them last year, where he kind of was the screen guy out of the backfield for them. And then they spent a third round pick on Keyshawn Vaughn this draft. So this is a crowded backfield, Higgins. And again, I expect Leonard Fournette to get the bulk of the carries, but signing 1 week before the season, I don't know. Is the return on investment going to be there in week one, week two? What if Ronald Jones gets off to a hot start with 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns? Are you going to bench that guy?
well, that's an interesting name to mention because if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers depth chart, Ronald Jones is the number one back in that backfield right now, with Leonard Fournette at 2 and then LaShawn McCoy at 3, followed by Keyshawn Vaughn. I think Leonard Fournette will probably end up taking that first spot, like what you're saying, but how many weeks will it take for him to be familiar and be comfortable, and for Bruce Arians to be comfortable to give him the bulk of those carries? I think that knocks him down at least 2 rounds in fantasy drafts if I'm talking about my draft strategy of where I would be placing Fournette. I I'd say he's probably what, third, fourth round pick, and then now he's probably a fifth or so.
Uh, I think you're a little off on that. I think he'll probably go in the second round in most drafts for fantasy this year.
Well, looks like I'm not getting Leonard Fournette then.
No, that's okay. Hey,
That's okay.
that's your price on Fournette, and you should have that price. If Leonard Fournette's there in the third round, I'll probably take a flyer on him because by week 5, I think he'll be the guy. But the first month of the season, it'll be interesting to watch, especially week 1 and 2. Week 1 and 2, I don't know if he's getting the bulk of the carries, but as he continues to get more time around the guys in the playbook, he's certainly the most talented back in their backfield.
I think it'll also be very interesting to see how similar Tom Brady and Bruce Arians are to Brady in New England. Brady's backfield in New England was very multifaceted. It was a lot of different names, and they split up their carries a lot. And in fantasy, that hurt those players.
Yeah.
Will that run true in Tampa Bay? There's a big question mark there for me, which kind of, I think that might be why I am valuing Leonard Fournette a little bit lower like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, no one has made names out of Danny Woodhead and James White and
Rex
Dion
Burkhead.
Lewis like Tom Brady has. So, that was gonna be again. I'm getting myself in trouble here, but that was gonna be Dare's role here, and he just might be out of it. It might be Keyshawn Vaughn's role. It could be Shady. Shady's got decent hands, so it'll be interesting to watch. And I think you're right, Higgins. I think it will be a rotation.
Speaking of that Bucks Patriots similarities, the Patriots, they had some news as well, cutting Mohamed Sanu, who they just traded for last year. What receiving core could use Sanu's contributions, and what quarterback could be willing to give up a few passes?
Yeah, crazy that New England gave up a second round pick for this guy not even a year ago and just flat out waived him.
Not like them at all.
Yeah, very, very interesting. You know, A lot of teams could use Sanu, but his best production last year came in the slot, so it would probably be looking for a team looking for someone to play in that slot role. Um, Historically speaking, the Jets just like signing anyone New England cuts, so I guess the Jets might be in play. He's also from New Jersey, so maybe a little double bonus there, and plus Brashad Perryman's knee injury seems worse than expected, so I think the Jets might be a team to look out for here. I could see the Rams potentially getting in on it with Brandon Cooks leaving this offseason. Maybe they feel he's better than rookie Van Jefferson and Reynolds. I'm drawing a blank on Reynolds. For Josh Reynolds, maybe is his name. But anyway, he could be the third wide out there, and he could probably play over the middle there, and you could have Cup and Woods on the outside.
I could see maybe the Houston Texans. I mean, got to fill DeAndre Hopkins' role with more than just a couple of players. That guy had a huge contributions for them, so they could probably use some receiver help. Tampa Bay, it's a familiar face for Tom Brady. I mean, you got Gronk for him. Maybe throw that in. I mean, they already have a very well-suited wide receiver core. They don't need Mohamed Sanu, but if Tom Brady wants him and they could sign him, Tom Brady might very well get him. It'll be interesting to see. I'd be very reserved on signing Sanu, though, until his free agency time is over and he finds a way to a team. So if you have an earlier draft, that might be a name that falls off of draft boards, and then you might be able to pick up a quality free agent.
Yeah, we'll see. His production's definitely dropped a little bit, but obviously, a talented wide receiver with really good hands. And then in terms of keeping the running back theme going here, Higgins, Joe Mixon got paid. Alvin Kamara is trying to get paid. He had headaches earlier in the week and wasn't in camp and doing all this stuff. And then he showed up on Wednesday, and I don't know. I don't know if I could take him at the fourth overall pick where he's been going in most fantasy drafts. There's just a little bit too much up in the air over there for me.
Well, I don't know if you're a fan of the TV show Ballers, but this storyline was actually in the most recent season of Ballers with his contract year coming up. And does he stay with the Saints? Do the Saints try to find value by trading him before his contract is up? And if I remember correctly, he becomes a Chief sometime during the season. So does Patrick Mahomes get Alvin Kamara? I mean, that would be a dangerous combination right there. We've seen Alvin Kamara's ability out of the backfield for Drew Brees. You can only imagine what that can be like for the no-look Mahomes pass.
Of course, Ballers had him going to the Super Bowl champs. like nothing ever goes wrong in Ballers. Nothing ever goes wrong in Entourage. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Entourage. Greatest show. Ari Gold's my hero, but was there ever a bad day on Entourage?
I think actually no. I just looked it up. I was wrong. I was thinking of the Chiefs because that's where Dwayne the Rock Johnson's character ends up becoming the owner. But Kamara was actually talking about going to the Rams in that show. So interesting with Todd Gurley now being gone. Maybe there's room at the top of that depth chart for him. I don't know if there's space or whatever, but Alvin Kamara is a big enough and a young enough name that if he gets re-signed by the Saints, it'd probably be a big long-term contract. It'll be maybe a trendsetter for the next running back like Saquon Barkley or one of the young guys to get signed like Christian McCaffrey. Or if he gets traded, I'd be interested to see what that haul is in return.
Yeah, I mean, people have been reporting he's not looking for the McCaffrey deal. I don't think he could get the McCaffrey deal because Christian McCaffrey was absolutely on another planet last year. But this is a dude that is a difference maker and he's a game changer and he deserves to get paid. So someone's going to give him a good amount of money. I hope it's New Orleans and I hope that offense keeps growing together. But we shall see. I just don't know if I could take him at 4 overall. Like maybe at the end of the first round, you could take a flyer on a guy like this because he is so talented. But at 4, you might just have to take a known commodity there. 4 or 5, it might be you might just have to pass on Kamara for right now.
I agree. I actually have the number 4 pick in one of my drafts, and maybe I'll have to part with Kamara. I've had him the past few seasons, so maybe I may have to buck that trend. Last team name I'm going to throw out for Kamara besides the Saints. Sure, Mark Ingram is pleading his case in Baltimore to get Kamara there. I mean, those two were a dynamic duo in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're gonna get this guy, you have to have available money. So
Hmm.
that really like leaves the Washington Redskins, or excuse
The
me, the
Washington
Washington
football
football
team,
team as
who just
the
announced their starter, by the way, is Dwayne Haskins, not Alex
yeah,
Smith.
they're like the only team with money left. So maybe them. Like that's about it. Otherwise, you got to give up or waive someone, or you got to figure out how to restructure your contracts to get the cap to fit. So it's going to be tough at this point to trade him, in my opinion. But I think they'll work something out. I think both sides realize. I mean, from Kamara's standpoint, he gets to play with a Hall of Fame quarterback, arguably the best wide receiver in the league. And he'll never see an 8-man box, so he probably likes it there. And I think the Saints know that they have a guy that can catch it, that can run, that can run it between the tackles, run to the outside. I mean, they have a weapon, so I think they'll figure out how to get something done, but it's just not something I want to touch right now.